In this video, I'll be going over how I built the ultimate AI system that can replace an entire SEO agency. I'll first go over a live demo on how this SEO AI system works, and then I'll show you every single node in detail so that you can build it yourself. Now, the system is made up of a team of 4 AI agents that each have their own tasks, and when combined, make up a full-service SEO agency. And you can use this AI system for either your own online site or your clients to rank higher on Google. So the first AI agent is an on-page SEO tool, and this instantly analyzes any page on your site, checking things like metadata, headings, site speed, internal links, and more, and then provides fixes to boost your website rankings. Our second agent is a keyword generator, and this helps brainstorm new short tail and long tail keywords to focus on with search intent labels and search volume estimates for those keywords. Next, we have a blog post generator tool, and this creates SEO-friendly blog posts for your site to rank on Google based on keywords, which you can get from our previous agent. And finally, we have a rank tracking tool, and this AI agent just tracks how your website is ranking for a specific keyword over time, so you can see if you're rising or falling within Google searches. Now let's go ahead and use this AI system in real time. So first, we can ask our AI agent to analyze the SEO of our website, aicodepathways.com. So sending this over, we can see that the workflow begins to execute and they're calling on the on-page SEO tool. And after that's loaded, we get a complete SEO analysis of our website. We have an on-page technical audit with critical issues like missing H1 tags. We also have quick wins that we can quickly fix within our website, opportunities for improvement to rank better on Google. And then after all the technical SEO audits, we have a content audit. This is where they'll read through our content and let us know if our webpage is high quality or low quality and if it's relevant to our audience. So here we can see a keyword research and analysis, as well as our keyword placement within our page. We also have a readability analysis to make sure that everyone can access our site. And then finally, we have recommendations like enhancing the content depth. They're also recommending for us to optimize keyword usage, diversify headings, as well as backlink opportunities. Next, let's go ahead and generate keywords for a specific topic. So here, I just simply typed in generate keywords for SEO automation. And then once we test our workflow, we can see that our AI system now calls on our keyword generator AI agent. Once that's done, we have a list of keyword suggestions for SEO automation that we can target. So as you can see, we have the keyword, we have the search intent, as well as the category for whether it's a high volume keyword, low volume, or medium. And our AI agent is also connected to Google Sheets, so we can see the same exact keywords here, but now logged into a spreadsheet. So we have SEO automation, best SEO automation. We have the intent for all the keywords. We have the volume category, so again, whether they're medium, low volume, or high volume. And then finally, we have whether they're short tail or long tail keywords. Now, let's go ahead and write an SEO-friendly blog on AI automation. So simply send this to our AI system. We can see that the blog post generator AI agent will now begin working for us. Our team of AI agents stated that we have generated a blog post on AI automation and that we'll receive it via email shortly. And this is what our blog post looks like. The title is AI Automation, Revolutionizing the Future of Data Analytics. We have an estimated reading time, and all of this is SEO friendly to make sure that this does rank well within Google. So we have a quick summary at the top about our article. We then have a table of contents for all the sections of the article. And then within the blog post, we have detailed and tailored content that's perfect for your site. So the first section is on understanding AI automation. Next is the growing importance. Then we have key applications, benefits of implementing AI automation in your analytics strategy, challenges and considerations, getting started, and then a conclusion section. So as you can see, this is a high quality and thorough blog post that's meant to really bring eyes to your online site. And then finally, we can check how our site is currently ranking for certain keywords on Google. So right now I've typed in how are we currently ranking for big data analytics. Once we send this over, it'll then call on the AI agent for the rank tracking tool. And then here we can see that our ranking for the keyword big data analytics has dropped from position 5 to position 6, meaning that we decreased 1 place since the last time we searched for it. And really quick, before I go over how to actually build this automation, if you want to get this template, or if you want in-depth guides on building real working AI agents and AI apps as a complete beginner, then make sure to click the link in my description for my school community. Now let's go over how to actually build this SEO AI agent. So at a high level, you can think of this workflow as 4 main sections. So first, we're receiving Telegram messages, so we can just type to the Telegram bot what we want. Then all that information gets fed to an AI agent node. And then from here, this AI agent will then choose which sub-agent to use to accomplish your task. So in our case here, we have 4 sub-agents. The first is to check the on-page SEO. The second one is to generate keywords for us. The third one is to create blog posts for us that are SEO friendly. And then lastly, to check rankings of keywords for our site. And then once one of these sub agents or child agents finishes these tasks, the main AI agent will then send us an output via Telegram, letting us know what was successful or information that we requested. Now, starting off, we'll be building this within n8n, which is a no-code platform. So again, feel free to follow along if you want to implement this SEO agency within your own business. Our first trigger step will be Telegram, but you can choose anything you want if you don't like to use Telegram as a messaging platform. So this can be Slack if you want to use this in a more professional setting, or WhatsApp if you use that application a bit more. But for my cases here, I'll just go ahead and select Telegram, and then we want this agent to trigger every time we send a message to our Telegram bot. So we'll select on message, and then we can connect our Telegram account directly. Now, if you've watched my previous videos, you'll know how to do the authentication, but if not, it's fairly simple. Just go ahead and click create new credential, open up the documentation, log into your Telegram account, and then you can paste in your access token after messaging a Telegram bot. This will serve as the main communication hub between you and the AI system, with the 4 AI agents that basically work for you in automating an entire SEO agency. Following this, we can add in our main AI agent, which will act as a hub to control all the child agents that live below it. So you can think of this as the parent AI agent that essentially controls everything. So click this here, and then we'll select advanced AI, and we'll choose the AI agent node. Now, what we'll first need to do is add a brain to this AI agent, so that way it'll be able to intelligently choose which tool to use and how to respond back to us. So inside our chat model here, we can select any major AI model. So if you prefer Anthropic, Gemini, but for my case here, I'll just do GPT-4o mini. This isn't too intensive of a task. All we're asking this AI agent to do is call on other AI agents, so they don't need to actually produce anything of value for us. This way, we don't need to run any detailed analyses or generate extensive content. So that's why GPT-4o mini will work perfectly fine in our cases here. And then again, if this is your first time doing this, make sure to create new credentials and then add in your API key directly from openai.com. Next, let's begin working directly within this AI agent node. So we'll first need to add a prompt for the AI agent. So rather than the connected chat trigger node, we are going to use Telegram. So click define below. So within Telegram, all I did was write test. That's my text. So just simply drag in this text here, so that the AI model will always see your instructions from Telegram. And then after this, we need to add more specific instructions to the AI agent. So in our case here, we'll want to add a system prompt just so they know what tools they have and what you want the AI agent and AI nodes to do for you. So go ahead and click system message here, and then open up this with an expression, and you can feel free to copy and paste my own prompt or come up with your own. But whatever in here is that you're an AI powered SEO assistant with access to 4 sub workflows. So you can think of these 4 sub workflows as the 4 child agents that will do things for us. The first, as shown in my example, is an on-page SEO analysis tool. So all the input is a URL, and then the output is a detailed on-page SEO audit. So we're doing things like titles, metas, headings, internal links, content. Now following this, we have a blog post generator tool where you input either a topic or a keyword with the desired length and tone. And then the output is a full draft blog post with headings, intro, body, conclusion, all in an SEO friendly format to make sure that we can rank well with this article on Google. Then our third child agent is a keyword research tool, and the input is either a seed topic or a competitor domain, and the output is a list of high volume keyword suggestions with metrics. So putting this in more plain English, with this keyword research tool, you just tell them a topic, and then they'll give you a list of keywords, either short tail or long tail keywords, as well as some metrics behind them, like volume of keywords, as well as just how relevant the keywords are to your audience. And then finally, as our fourth child agent, we have a rank tracking tool. So with this, we can input a keyword. Presumably you can use a keyword that you got from the previous section inside this keyword research tool. And then the output is the current Google rank for that keyword within your site. So what this means is that if you own the domain tableau.com and then you search for the keyword big data analytics, this fourth child agent will type in and physically search Google for big data analytics and see where your website Tableau ranks. So if it's 5th on Google search, you'll be ranked 5th in the output. If it's 6th, it'll tell you you're ranked 6th. And this rank tracking tool is also connected to a Google Sheets so that they can see how your rank changes over time. So from the last time you searched, your ranking could go down 1 or it could go up 1. And based on this, you can adjust your SEO strategy, either on adjusting your current blog posts, writing new blog posts, seeing what's wrong with your on-page SEO, or get more backlinks. And then here we have some more general tools for the prompt. So when you receive a user request, these are the steps to follow in order. So first, you want to interpret the intent from the user, and then you want to use one of the 4 tools. So SEO analysis, blog posts, keyword, or tracking. We want to make sure that the main AI agent node, which we're providing the instructions to, calls the right tool. So it's important to use the tool's name exactly and pass the parameters and wait for the output. And then this is where we'll say if only one tool is used, then we want to return the results in a clear, friendly way. But if multiple tools are used, then we want to combine the outputs of the multiple tools so that when we have the response back in Telegram, they'll tell us that both tools worked or if something went wrong. And then finally, if we're missing information, they're not just going to randomly call on a tool and pray that they get it right. Rather than calling on the tool, they'll send a message back to us within Telegram, letting us know that we need something. So if you wanted to audit some page's SEO, they'll tell us that we need the URL this way. If we need keywords, but we don't provide a topic, they'll tell us that we need a topic, and so on and so forth. And then after this, I just have a ton of user examples just so they know how to actually use all of the 4 tools that they have at its disposal. So this wraps up the main AI agent node, but now we need to work on the 4 child AI agents to actually do things for us in our SEO tasks. So first, let's go ahead and add a tool. And for each of these 4 tools, what we'll want to do is call another workflow. And that's because it's always a little bit simpler to have these own dedicated workflows for each tasks. I find that AI agents are a lot more helpful and useful when each of them are specifically able to only do one thing. So this way they do it right and they do it efficiently. So go ahead here and click Call n8n Workflow Tool. Now for our first tool, if you remember, it was an on-page SEO analysis. So you can maybe just call this on-page SEO. Next, in this description, we just want to say what this tool is used and when the main AI agent should call on this tool. So we'll say call this tool to analyze the SEO of a website. And then here you want to go ahead and select either a blank workflow if you don't have access to my school community. And if you do, just go ahead and copy and paste the template in here and you can just select it from this drop-down menu. So in my case, you can just go ahead and select SEO workflow, and then you have the option for a workflow input. The only thing when we want to analyze the on-page SEO of a site is that we need the site's URL. That's why this popped up. And then we can have the AI model essentially take the URL out from our instructions and then send it over to the sub-agent. So go ahead and click Define Automatically by the AI model. And if you don't have access to the templates, let me just go over how to build this SEO workflow child agent as well. So this is what the child agent looks like. This is executed by the main AI agent workflow. I'll go over all these nodes in detail so that you can follow along and basically paste in the same exact nodes yourself if you want to replicate the same workflow. So first, like I mentioned, we needed the URL to actually analyze on-page SEOs. So that's what I added as a very first step. So if we didn't have this, so let me just assume that we never had a URL, click Add Field, we'll call this URL, and then this will be a string. And if we have this URL set here, this is what causes this URL to show up as a workflow input. So again, if you want this URL to show up as an input, you first need to edit it inside the sub workflow on this side here before it will show up on your main agent workflow. Now, as a first step inside this child agent, what you want to do is add in an HTTP request node. And this is how we can scrape our website for the technical as well as content audit. So clicking into this here, this is what it looks like. All we're doing is taking the URL from the previous step. We're taking this URL, pasting it here, and we're just getting the contents of that entire website. Now, right now, we don't have a URL inputted. And just to show you what this looks like, I replaced the null URL here with the contents of my actual website. And then once we test this step, all this does is scrape my website page and reproduce in the output all of the contents of the page. So we have all the HTML structures as well as everything that's actually on my website. This is what the AI model will use to then determine what's wrong with the site, provide an audit, technical as well as content based on everything that they see in this output section here. Just think of this as the web scraping node. And then from here, we send the outputs of our website to 2 separate AI agents. The first is a tools agent called technical audit. The second is another tools agent, but this one's called content audit. So for the technical audit, again, all this is just a pretty standard OpenAI message model, but the real importance is what we do with this prompt. So as you can see here on the left-hand side, we have all the data from our site. And then if I open up this prompt, this is what it says. You're an expert SEO manager with unmatched expertise. So you want them to analyze the HTML code, again, from the web scrape. And then we want them to specifically perform an on-page technical SEO audit. And you can change these around if you'd like, but what I categorize these 3 as is first, critical issues, which are problems that must be fixed immediately. Next are quick wins that are simple fixes, but they'll have a significant impact on the SEO of your site. And then lastly, opportunities for improvement. Then we'll do the same exact thing below, but rather than doing a technical audit, so looking at the HTML code and seeing how everything is structured, we want the AI agent to actually read the contents of our web page and let us know what we need to improve on. AI agents work best when they only have one specific task. That's why we're not doing these 2 steps all in one single step, where one AI agent is doing both the technical audit as well well as content audit, it's always better when you can to break out the steps so that this one's more efficient and effective at specifically focusing on technical audit. And this AI agent is specifically focusing on a content audit. So if you click open into the content audit, this is what my new prompt says here. You're an expert SEO manager, and then we want them to analyze our content quality assessment. Next is a keyword research and analysis based on everything they see on the page. We also want them to produce a readability analysis and then recommendations on clear, actionable bullet points. And these are meant to enhance our Google rankings and boost user engagement on our website. And then finally, we're referencing this scraped data once again. So just simply drag this over if I didn't have that already. And this just shows all of the HTML code, very basic, of our website. And then once we have the technical audit as well as the content audit generated, what we can do is merge the two with a merge node and then aggregate the two items into one single item and then mark it down to HTML. Now this last step is optional, but I prefer the markdown to HTML just so whenever they produce these two outputs, sometimes it will be formatted a bit funky. So if you mark down these to HTML, these are in a more standard format so that you can send it over to Telegram or Slack or whatever messaging app you use, even a Gmail account. So with that, we basically completed our very first on-page SEO child agent. So if we head back into our main agent, what we have now is just the main AI agent, and then we have the first tool here. So because we want this AI agent to know what this tool does, we have to name it properly so that they know when to actually use this whenever we want to analyze the on-page SEO of a site. So let's rename this call n8n workflow to maybe say on-page SEO tool, so that this way the main agent knows to call this on-page SEO tool whenever we want to analyze the SEO of a website. And then when we call on this tool, the only thing we need is a URL. So that way, whenever we instruct the agent, so in our case here, if we're using Telegram, we have to provide a URL to the main AI agent before it can use this on-page SEO tool. So if you don't provide a URL, they'll go back to us and say, give me a URL before I can use this SEO tool, or child agent if you prefer that terminology. Now let's work on the 3 remaining child agents. So once again, we'll click add another tool, and then we want this tool to call another n8n workflow because we're using another sub agent. Now the second one will be a keyword generator, just like I showed in the video. So let's first rename this to be a keyword generator. And then for the name, this can be anything you want, but just for organization purposes, I'll do generate keywords. And this description, once again, is how this main AI agent knows to call on this tool. So we'll say call this tool to generate new keywords and search volumes. And then again, if you're inside the community, feel free to copy and paste the template. But in my case here, I'll just select keyword research. And then from here, we can see that the only workflow input is the topic, and we want the model to define this parameter. Once again, what this means is that whenever we send something from Telegram to this AI agent, we want the AI agent to extract the topic from our instructions. So if we say use the keyword generator tool for this topic, the AI agent will then take out the topic from our instructions and then send it over to the child agent because we're defining this automatically by the model. So the previous step was URLs. We needed a URL to analyze on-page SEO. For the keyword generator tool, we need a topic because again, we need to know what type of keywords to focus on. So that means whenever we have the main AI agent use this child agent, the keyword generator tool, we need to have a topic to send over to the child agent. So that's why we have this topic as a workflow input. And then here we have the child agent, which is a bit more simpler compared to the last one we saw. So once again, we want this to be executed by the previous workflow. And then once again, we want to first set the topic here. So if we write in topic, add it as a string, then it'll show up as a topic as a workflow input. So always make sure to first go into the new sub agent or child agent, add in this workflow input schema called topic before it can show up in the previous section. So then the first step of this workflow is to message a model. So just go ahead and select the OpenAI message a model. And then for the model type, I'm doing GPT 4.1 mini, which is a bit more powerful than 4.0 mini and is a new model from OpenAI. And then we can see that as the very first step inside this workflow, we have the topic. Right now it's null because we haven't actually sent anything to the main AI agent. But as we can see, we have topic as the only input available. So we can drag this into the prompt. And this is the prompt that I wrote here. It says you're a keyword research assistant. So given this topic, and then you can drag over this topic. I'll just show you. As simple as that. This will return a JSON array of keyword objects. And then we want them to return first the keyword, the intent, the volume category, and then whether it's a short tail or long tail keyword. So here we can see that we want them to generate 20 total entries, 10 where the type is short tail, and then 10 where the type is long tail. So that means we get a pretty comprehensive list of both short and long keywords that we can use to target on our online site. And then because we want to output this as a JSON array, just go ahead and scroll down and then click output contents as JSON. This makes sure that the data we get out from this OpenAI model looks consistent. So if we test this step here, right now it's null, so we probably won't get much keywords, but just to show you how this output looks like, we have this all neatly formatted. So keywords, we have the keyword name, best laptop, I guess. The intent would be commercial, volume, high, because a lot of people do search up best laptop. And then the type is short tail because again, this is a short keyword. And then scrolling down to a bit of the longer tail keywords, we have how to fix laptop battery not charging. And the volume for this is medium. It's not as high as just searching up best laptop, but it's also not as low as searching up something like where to buy affordable gaming laptops online, which again is more of a transactional keyword. So this just gives you a comprehensive list again of 10 long tail and 10 short tail keywords. All of these long tails are a bit longer in length and target more specific topics. And then once we have all 20 of those keywords, the next step here is to split out those 20 keywords into 20 different items. So I just reran the workflow here. We have one item inside the split out. Because we're doing null, this is going to keep changing every single time. But here we have a keyword of digital marketing, SEO tools, etc. We have the same exact output, but rather than one single item here, so this is one JSON item, we now have 20 different JSON items. And the reason why we split this out is that we can add all of these keywords to our Google Sheets. So this last node, like I mentioned, is a Google Sheets node. Just simply open this up, and then we want to select our Google Sheets account, resource sheet within a document, and then all we want to do is append a row. And what append means is add. So every single time we run this child agent, it's just going to keep adding on more rows for us. In our case, it's just going to keep adding on new keywords for us to target. And then you just want to go ahead and reference the Google Sheet that you want to input all this data for. So this is my keywords Google Sheet. We have a column for keywords, a column for intent, volume category, and then type. And then if we scroll down, we have the latest keywords that we just searched up right now. So like I showed earlier, once we ran it a second time, we had digital marketing as one of the short term. So if we head back to our SEO workflow, let's take a look at this keyword research. We see that our first keyword is digital marketing, informational, high volume category, and this is a short tail keyword. Heading back into Google Sheets, we see digital marketing, informational, high, short tail keyword. And then it inputted the 19 remaining keywords below. And then again, because we selected append row, it's going to just keep adding new rows each time we search for new keywords. And this is just a way for you to log all the different keywords that this AI agent has provided you so that you know what to focus on or maybe a reference in the next child AI agents, which is creating blog posts. So now heading back to our main agent, we can see that it now has two child agents it can reference. First is this on-page SEO tool, and then the second now is our keyword generator tool. So now let's go ahead and add in our third tool, which is to be able to write SEO-friendly blog posts for us. So just like the previous steps, add another tool, call n8n workflow tool. Once again, we'll call the name just blogs. And then for the description, again, this needs to be descriptive so that the main AI agent knows when to actually use this tool. So here I just wrote, call this tool to generate SEO-friendly blogs. And then once again, I'll just go ahead and select my workflow. If you don't have the template, it's completely fine. Just go ahead and click create a sub workflow. It'll automatically open up a new page for you where you can then begin building out the workflow. And I'll show you all the different nodes that make up this new blog generation post. So for this blog post generator, we just have one workflow input, which is blog topic. And then again, this won't pop up until you begin actually editing your sub workflow and adding in that as an input. So if you wanted to add it in, we would have to add in this field here before it would show up in this bottom section if you are using a completely blank sub workflow. But in my case, we have one already built out, so I'll go ahead and let the model define the parameter here. And then let me go ahead and show you how this blog post generator, child agent, or sub workflow is built out so that you can follow along. This is how it looks like at a high level. Might seem a little bit daunting, but let me go over to you in complete detail. So like I mentioned earlier, the very first step, we just want to add in the blog topic as an input. And the reason for this is because we can't write a blog unless we want to know what the topic is. So this is the only required data field that we have. Once we give the main AI agent the topic of a blog, this workflow should then be able to trigger, and it has all the information it needs to write an SEO friendly blog. Now our first node here is an AI agent that's basically a copywriter, and you can feel free to use my same exact prompt or read through it and create one yourself. But all I'm writing here is that you're part of a marketing team that creates high quality blog posts for a data analytics company. And then we're just simply saying what information we're feeding it. The only thing is the blog topic. And then if we scroll down, we want to include the blog topic in the title, the header, as well as early on in the introduction. And then you can add in some additional parameters here. I've written in that this blog has to be between 1,500 to 2,500 words. And we want to make sure that this blog is written at a level that's acceptable to both business professionals and casual learners, as well as a call to action to encourage readers to contact the company for more information. Because at the end of the day, we do want people that head onto the site to convert as paying customers eventually. And then finally, we just want to drag over this blog topic at the bottom section. So right now it's null because we haven't actually written a blog topic over to the main AI agent. But if you scroll down here, all we're doing is dragging over this blog topic just so they know what to actually write the blog about. And then next, what we're doing here is splitting this into 3 separate merge inputs. So the first is just to create the HTML of the blog. And the second is to create the title, slug, and meta of the blog. And then the third, obviously, is the contents of the blog. Now, the reason why we split this out into 3 is to make sure that this is SEO friendly on all aspects. Head over into the HTML section of the blog. So here, this isn't too intensive of a task. So we're just calling on GPT-4o Mini. But what we want them to do is only output the HTML content without anything else. And the reason why we separate out this HTML between the title, slug, meta, and the actual contents is because this is a lot easier to integrate directly within WordPress if you do want to add it without sending it to an email, for example. I don't have a WordPress site, but if you did, you can simply reference this HTML, the content, and then the title, slug, and meta as all separate fields to automatically post to your site. But again, inside this create HTML section here, you can read through what I've written in my prompt. We just, again, only want to output the HTML. And then we have a required structure. This makes sure that the blog post is actually suitable for SEO. So we have a title, estimated reading time, key takeaways, table of contents, main content, and then an FAQ section. So this is the structure for every single blog post going forward. Next, we have styling requirements, again, to make sure that this is SEO friendly and will show up on Google search sites. Next, we have formatting for the same exact purposes. And then finally, we have hyperlink handling when you want to link out to external sites. And then just like I mentioned, we want this to be compatible with WordPress if you do have a WordPress site so that you can automatically post this. And then just to show you, we also have the title, slug, and meta agent. So let me just show you how this prompt looks like here. We want them to create a slug, blog post title, and meta description for the following blog post. This is the outputs from the blog post. And then here are the guidelines for the slug, which is basically kind of like the preview before you click open the blog. So you want it to be concise, 4 to 5 words at a maximum. And then first we have the slug guidelines, and you can think of this as the URL. So if you go to like apple.com/pricing, that would technically be the slug. So we want this to be concise, 4 to 5 words at a maximum. And we want to use hyphens to separate words as you would typically do within URLs, because again, everything does matter in an SEO context, especially how your URLs are structured. So this is important here. And then if we scroll down, we have guidelines for how to structure the title. Scrolling down a bit more, we have guidelines for the description. So this is if you search up something on Google, you'll typically see first the slug, then the title, and then the description of the article or page that you're about to click on. So this is all crucial to actually getting an SEO friendly blog or article. And then finally scrolling down, we want this output to be in JSON with 3 fields. So first is the URL slug, the second is the post title, and then finally is the meta description. And all 3 of these contribute to something that will actually rank well and high on Google search. And then because we want this in JSON output, just go ahead and check this require specific output format. And then because we have this checked, all we need to do is connect an output parser. So feel free to copy mine exactly, but all this is doing is separating out the slug, the title, and the meta. And these are examples. So this is what the slug would look like. So if you were at apple.com, the blog would be like apple.com/blog/RPO-benefits-recruitment. And then the title is the first thing you see on Google. So if you typed in like modern recruitment articles, the first title would be this that shows up, and then the meta would be the description. And then once we have the contents along with the HTML structure and then the title, slug, and meta, we can merge all of these into one item. and then combine all of these blog details. So now we have this one single item that contains all the information for our blog to make sure that it is SEO friendly. And then finally, we can clean up the HTML. This is optional if you want to, but just to make sure that this does catch everything, it replaces HTML with this. Let's make sure that it's outputted correctly for WordPress. And then finally, after all this, we can either send it as a Gmail to our Gmail account, or we can post it directly within WordPress. Now, I don't have a WordPress site, so I'm not able to use the node correctly, but if you did, it's all separated out for you so that you can easily go ahead and automate posting to WordPress. But in my case here, I'll just use the Gmail tool. And then what we're doing is just always sending an email to this email with the subject. And then the message is just the entire combined content, the blog, and then the HTML structure, as well as the title, slug, and meta. We want to let the main AI agent know if this was successfully sent over as a Gmail. So what I just did is added in one final edit fields. I just called it blog post via email and then dragged over the blog post. I'm just going ahead and testing the workflow with a null value just so we can see how everything looks like once this is complete. First, the blog topic is null. So we're saying the blog topic was not provided, which is perfect because we don't want them to create a blog post unless they have a topic. So they have basically an output that is a failure message. And then we don't have HTML or titles, so we can ignore all of those. But it's going to combine all three of those items into one single item from which we can clean up the HTML and then send it directly to Gmail. And then after this is done, we're adding in this final node, which basically takes this label ID. So if it says sent, it's going to say blog post via email sent. So if we test this step, this is the output blog post via email sent. And the last node inside a child agent is actually the node that gets sent back to the main agent. So what this means is that this output blog post via email sent is the only thing that our main AI agent sees. So what this means is that after they use this blog generation tool, what gets sent back to this main AI agent is just this last output that says blog post via email sent. So this way the AI agent will then go back to our Telegram as the final step and say, it looks like the blog post was sent via email today. So now looking at this at a high level, we have 3 child subagents that are connected to our main AI agent. So first, our AI agent can use our on-page SEO tool if we want to analyze the SEO of a specific web page. Next, we can generate keywords based on a topic, and then we can also generate blogs based on keywords or a topic. So now to round off our entire SEO agency, let's add one last tool, which will once again call a child workflow. So click this call n8n workflow. And this last tool will go ahead and search keywords for us and check to see how our site is ranking for those keywords. So let's go ahead and rename this node to be the rank tracking tool. And then the description is that we want the main AI agent to use this whenever we want to track our rankings for keywords within Google search. And then I'll go ahead and just select rank tracking. But again, if you are doing this from scratch and you don't have my template from the community, just go ahead and click create new, and then you'll follow those same exact steps as the previous sections. And then for our workflow inputs, the only input we need is a keyword, because again, all we're doing is taking keywords sent to the AI agent and then checking to see how our website domain ranks for those keywords. So once again, we'll just let the model define this parameter. Now clicking into our rank tracking sub workflow, this is what it looks like. It's nothing too complicated, but you will need to connect the Google Sheets account just to make sure that you are tracking these ranked keywords properly. So this is how it works. When this is executed by another workflow, the only input we're getting, again, is the keyword, because we need to know how we're ranking for this specific value. And then the next is an HTTP request using the SERP API. And what SERP is just an API that lets you do Google searches, and it's completely free for the first 100 uses for the month. So feel free to just sign up for an account on serpapi.com, and then you'll get your own API key. And then from here, you can feel free to copy my configurations exactly. The URL is that we just want to use the API for search. So this is https serpapi.com/search. The authentication, we'll want to add in a predefined credential type, and I'm just selecting SERP API. And this is where you can go ahead and insert your own API key directly from the SERP website. And then just like last time, we don't have the keywords yet, so it's null. But just to show you how this looks like, we're going to use fields below. The first is value, which is Q. And then we'll just go ahead and drag this keyword over. So that means we're always searching for this keyword. And then next is location. So we want all Google searches within the United States. And then finally, we want the number of searches, which is 10. So let me go ahead and just hard code a value here for you. So maybe we'll type in something like toy trucks just to show you how this looks like. But using the SERP API, if we, for example, message the main AI agent node to use the keyword toy trucks to see how we're ranking, what they're doing here is testing the step. The SERP API is physically acting like an agent that can search Google for us. So they provide all the Google searches for the past 10 results. So if you scroll down a bit, we have first titles of the sites as well as how they look. So Fundraise Mighty Fleet Motorized Tow Truck. This is, I believe, the 5th one, and the source is from Walmart. So you can see all 10 Google searches based in the United States. So again, what these query parameters mean is that we're searching for toy trucks and the location is United States. So we're assuming that this is a person located in the US, and we're only showing the first page of Google search results. So we're only showing 10 searches. Now I'll change this to something a bit more relevant. So maybe I'll do like big data analytics. And then now if we test the step, we should get the first 10 Google search results when we type in the words big data analytics. Now after this, we want to essentially format all this data into something usable. This is just way too much to comb through, but that's why we have a code node that can sift through the data for us and see where our website domain appears. So clicking into code, feel free to copy my code node exactly, but this is what I wrote: returns items, and then we want to find items or search results that include our website here. Now I did Tableau as an example because we're searching for big data analytics, but if you have your own website, you would just simply replace this with xyz.com. And all this means is that they're going to search through all of these Google search results from the past node and then see where our website ranks. So assuming we own tableau.com, if we were to test this step, all this is going to do is go through all of the search results, all 10, and then see where Tableau shows up. So right now it's showing that Tableau is ranked 6 if we search up big data analytics. So again, on this left-hand side, what we're doing is searching up the terms big data analytics because we're hard coding it here. The location is United States, and then the number of searches we want to show is 10. And then in the next step, all we're doing is adding a code node. So it's going through all of this data and then seeing if our website Tableau is in the top 10 because it's only showing the first 10 searches. And then if it is, we just want the position, which is the 6th result. So I can scroll down a little bit and try to find it, but this data is a bit hard to sift through. And then if it's not ranked in the top 10, we'll just say not ranked in top 10. Just to show how this works, if we type in something irrelevant like walmart.com, it's going to say not ranked in top 10. Then if we change this back to Tableau, it's going to show position 6. This is a very helpful way to really keep track of where your website is ranking for keywords. So if you had like an SEO agency, for example, and then you wanted to search up like 100 keywords every single day, you can keep using this AI agent and track it day by day to see if you're falling in rankings for any of your keywords that you are looking for. And then that way you'll know what to focus and hone in on. And then now, just as a last step, we want to feed this information, which again, just shows us our current rank, nothing else. That's it. We'll feed it to an AI agent, which will then use either Google Sheets to read or update. So let me show you what the prompt looks like for our AI agent. We can say that today's date is today's date. And then we want to first give them the current ranking of our keyword. The current ranking is just simply dragging this over 6. And then the keyword, we want to reference the keyword that we searched up. So if we scroll down all the way to the beginning, this is our very first step in our sub workflow, which again is when executed by another workflow. And then this is the input. We're taking the keyword from our main AI agent from instructions. So if you're a little bit confused, where we're getting this keyword from is from our main AI agent. So all we're doing, if we wanted to use this rank tracking tool, is within Telegram, we send something to the AI agent, like please check the ranking for keywords toy truck. And then heading back to here, toy truck would then show up as a keyword here. So that's why we want to reference this in the prompt, that we know here's the current ranking. We're ranked 6 for the keyword, and then whatever keyword we're ranking for. And then what we want them to do is to use the Google Sheets tool to first look up the previous rank for this keyword. And then we want to compare the previous rank to the current rank and then compose a 1-sentence summary. So we can say that keyword X moved from position 8 to position 6, rising 2 places or dropping by 3 places. And then finally, we'll want to update the same row in the rank tracker sheet, setting the last rank column to the current rank. So this is what the keyword ranking sheet looks like. Super simple. So we have a keyword, So in our case, if we search big data analytics, the last rank was rank 5 and the date of last rank was April 22nd. And then now if we ran this one additional time, it's still going to say big data analytics if that's what we're searching for. But then assuming that we're tableau.com, we're going to now rank 6 rather than 5, which means that we'll drop one rank. And then the date would change to today, which is April 23rd. So let me go ahead and actually show you how this works. So inside our Telegram, I'll send how are we ranking for big data analytics, and then it'll use this rank tracking tool and we can see it update in real time. Right now, the last rank was 5 on April 22nd. So now let's wait for this to update. It should now say 6 on April 23rd after this loads. Awesome. So now we can see the last rank is 6. The date of last rank is April 23rd. So what this workflow does, if we look back at this prompt, is essentially taking the current ranking and then we're comparing it to the previous rank. So before this was rank 5, April 22nd, and then now it's rank 6. So what they're going to say to us is that it actually dropped one rank. And then finally, we want to update the same row, setting the last rank. So setting this last rank column from 5, it'll now be the current rank to 6, so that anytime we run this again, 6 will now be our last rank. And then if we ran it again and then we were 7 next week, it would then show last rank is 7 and then the date to be the new date. And then heading back into our workflow, this was the output, which basically says your ranking has moved from position 5 to 6, dropping one place in the search results. So the reason why we have this Google Sheets is just to keep track of how we're ranking historically for these keywords. In this way, we'll have a date of when we last checked for this keyword. So now this is today rather than yesterday. And then we have the rank on that specific date. So you can kind of keep track of whether your rankings are improving or decreasing. And that essentially wraps up all 4 of our child agents. So we have an intelligent main AI agent here that based on what instructions we send it, it'll be able to select either this on-page tool, keyword generator tool, blog generation tool, and the rank tracking tool. And then finally, we want to send all the outputs back to our Telegram. So click Telegram once again. And then within the Telegram node, we just want to send a text message. So click send a text message here. And then for the chat ID, we just want to reference the previous chat ID. So clicking into schema, go to the chat ID of Telegram, drag this over. And then for the text, we just want to output from the AI agent. So drag this over here. Perfect. And then if we test this step and then open up our Telegram, it'll say your ranking for the keyword big data analytics has moved from position 5 to position 6. And then if we wanted to remove this, your message was sent automatically with n8n. Just go over here, click add field, append n8n attribution, unselect this. If we test this step, it'll show it once again, but this time with no message, it'll just say your ranking for the keyword big data analytics has moved from position 5 to position 6. And with this, you have an all-in-one SEO agency that you can use either for your own site or for your clients. Now, if you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe for more AI agent building content. And like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, if you want to receive this template or if you want full in-depth guides on building real working AI agents for businesses of any industry, then make sure to click the link in the description for my school community.